Hi everyone! Today I wanted to build a micro home in The Sims 4, which is obviously only 32 tiles. So I was trying to decide how I wanted to do it, and I definitely decided I wanted it to be 2 floors. I was going to try and make it so it was fully tiled, but I ended up leaving a few tiles off the roof so that I could still make it 32 tiles. But the roof covers it, so it's still fine, and it's all functional as well, so you can use the kitchen, the bed, the sofa, the computer, you can use everything, which is what I wanted a functional micro home so that you can build skills and such faster. So I had a bit of trouble with the kitchen, I wanted to fit all the way along with no gaps, but I think it worked out okay in the end. I've actually had to change the kitchen around a little bit just because I didn't realise you could have the cooker and the hob, that you couldn't have the cooker and the hob on one counter. So when we go through it at the end, you'll see that the hob has now changed to the cooker, but it's still functional. But I really enjoyed building this. I tried to make it a bit more creative and a bit artsy. Yeah, I didn't realise that there was a higher wall height, so I've just brought that down. And even though it's a tiny house, I still wanted it to have a bath, just because I feel like it's a bit more luxurious, like being able to have a micro home that's only 32 tiles and still having a bath. So I've got a bath, and then I also put in a shower, just because I feel like playing The Sims with just the bath is really annoying. I hate them just constantly having baths and having no option to shower. And I don't like the shower tub combos, so I figured we'd have a bath and a shower and they could just wash their hands in the kitchen sink, which I don't feel is too far-fetched for a tiny house. I feel like it'd be fine. The Sims don't mind. At least it means they're not going to wash their pots in the bathroom sink. So I've gone for quite a light colour on the inside and then quite dark on the outside. And I want to put a little shelf as well in the bathroom, just to try and add some knickknacks on. Because I think if you have a tiny house, it's really important to use as much of the wall space as you can, to try and have a bit more space to put knickknacks and things you need. As well as lots of windows. I feel like natural light is really important in small houses. Got a little desk so your Sims can go on their computer, and I put a laptop so you can just take it anywhere, or use the desk for something else, like writing in a journal. But it was really fun to build overall. It was quite a challenge trying to squeeze everything into just such a small house. I wanted a couch as well, just to try and make it feel a bit more homely, and then if you have guests around, at least the 2 of you can sit somewhere, or you could even seat 3 people with the desk chair. I tried to decide what I wanted to do with the outside, and in the end I just went for these greeny grey tiles, just because I thought it looked quite nice and quite unassuming from the outside, so maybe if you saw it from the outside you wouldn't quite think it's a micro home. So I've got some little tiles under the kitchen just to try and separate the space a little bit, and I love this hexagonal carpet. I use it all the time. I think it looks great. So I went with a bit of a backsplash as well. But yeah, it was quite a squeeze trying to fit everything in. I'm going for mostly oranges, blues, some purples. I think it ties together quite nice. I think it looks creative without looking too over the top, hopefully. And I tried to make the upstairs quite a nice and inviting space, as you'll see in a minute. I always use this bed. I think it looks so nice. I would love this bed in real life with all of the blankets as well. And that little pillow in the middle. I love it so much. It looks so cozy. So I made a little bedside table next to it, because you've always got to have a bedside table. And I had put in a wardrobe. I wasn't going to, just because there's not that much space, but I wanted to try and make it as realistic as possible, and if you were actually living there you'd need somewhere to put clothes. But you can actually access the wardrobe and the bed. Your Sims have to go down the ladder and then back up the ladder, but it's fine, it works. And again, more windows for lots of natural light. Yeah, I went for some greens and yellows up here. especially softer greens, just because I felt it was a bit more relaxing. I wanted to decorate the walls again, just to make it feel a bit more homely and a bit more lived in. I like to think maybe the person living here painted that picture themselves. I also put a mirror because I figured you'd probably want a full-size mirror in your house. You'd have to stand on the bed to look at yourself, but I think that's okay. I'm not sure how I'd feel about sleeping next to a mirror in real life though. I feel like that would be a bit weird, just waking up and seeing your own reflection. I tried to clutter the shelves a little bit with a couple of plants and the little snow globes. I think the snow globes are adorable. I love the dinosaur one and the sakura one. I think it's so nice. And then I always put teddies on my bed as well. I just think it makes it feel a bit more cozy and a bit more inviting. And I don't know, I have teddies all over my house in real life, so it feels appropriate. I try to make sure they don't look too much like they're floating, but I think it works there. I think the turtle looks like it's floating a bit, but that's okay. I think it fits nicely between the other two. So just filling in the space a little bit more, adding a little bathroom shelf in, just so you have somewhere to put all your knickknacks in the bathroom. Just helps liven it up a little bit. Of course, got to have the froggy man on the shelf, and then just adding some extra little bits to the bedroom as well. I love this tray with the books and the candles and the little plant. I think it's so cute and I wish we had more bits like that. I think it just works really nicely. So, and I think it helps make the bedroom feel a bit cozier as well. I think it looks nice. So I went for the same carpet up here, and then I put some rugs down. They're a bit bolder, but I feel like it helps add in a pop of colour. So I've just layered the yellow on top of the dark green. And even with this plant and the electric heater in front of the wardrobe, still works. You can still access it and your sim can still get up there. Just figured maybe you'd be a bit cold in the evening, you'd want the electric heating on for a little bit just to warm up before you go to sleep. And of course it wouldn't be a nice cozy bedroom without some stringed fairy lights. I'd have fairy lights everywhere if I could. I love them. I think they look so cute, and I love these lights as well. They're like little floating books. I just think they look like books. I know they're not, but yeah, I think they're cute, so I like to use them as well. I tried to make the downstairs a little bit more artsy because I figured the person living here, maybe that's how they earn a living. They're an artist. Maybe they do some cross stitching. Put this little board up with some paints on. So maybe they I like to think they made everything in the house. So like the hanging plants, they made the hanging string bit, and they made the cross stitches. They made some of the paintings. Maybe they made the cushions on the chair. I just decorated that up a little bit as well, just to add some more art supplies really, you know, like the scissors, the hand sculpture, because maybe they paint too or draw. It's good to have some references. Put the little books behind so you can just reach, grab a folder, but you can still sit in the chair even with those books there, so that's fine. And I love all of these new plants from the plant kit. I always said I wouldn't buy a kit, but when the plant kit came out, I had to have it. They're so adorable. I really like all of the plants in there. So here's the cross stitching now. So, you know, if you want your sim to, I mean, it's a micro home, so it's good for skill building. You might as well do some creative skills, have some cross stitch. I wanted to add a bit more purple in here as well, so I went with this light lilac-y, light purple coloured, light coloured fluffy rug. I just put a bunch together to make it a bit bigger, a bit more of a subtle but statement-y piece. I added some clutter bits to the kitchen as well, but I think I had to change them around a little bit or just move them over a little bit more, because I had to move the hob over to the right because I didn't realise you couldn't use the hob in the oven if it was on the same counter. So I've had to move it around a little bit. So when we add a sim in later, just to have a quick look around, you'll see that I've changed it around a little bit just to make it functional, but that's great, everything works, and everything, all of the main bits are still there, everything that's needed is there. So again, just adding some kitchen bits, trying to figure out what this person would like. I feel like they'd probably like a hot chocolate in the evening, have some cookies with it. I think it would look cute. And I like to size down the little board that's from, I think, Cottage Living, with the rabbit and the fox on it. I like to size it down to just make it a little kitchen decoration piece, because I think it looks really cute, and I wouldn't really use the chalkboard for any of my builds otherwise. But we've got a little crock pot on top of the microwave ready to cook something yummy in. Yeah, I think this is a house I'd like to live in real life, and I feel like I would actually make it more cluttered than this in real life. It'd just be a mess everywhere. Yeah, adding on another little shelf, just so, because I feel like in a tiny house you'd have all these little shelves to add bits onto, you know, little storage items. I couldn't decide on a picture for here. It took me a long time to decide on a picture. In the end I went with this one, and I figured again, like, they probably painted it for themselves, and because of the purples and the oranges I felt like it kind of fit in more with the colour scheme. I love this koi picture so much, and I figured since the bathroom was mostly black and white, it kind of just fit in. I think it looks really nice and really kind of relaxing. And I just wanted to add some more cluttery bits to the shelf by the bath. I think when your sim has a bath, it does actually clip the sim a little bit, but that's fine. We've got a shelf in there now with some necessities. Well, what the sim would use every day. So, you know, nail filing kit, some nail polishes, a nice little plant, and some perfumes and such. I ended up putting the cactus here, and I really liked the cactus there. I preferred it to this other little plant, but when I went to playtest it, you couldn't use the microwave with the cactus next to it for some reason. I didn't realise that was a thing, but now I do. So I ended up replacing it, I think, with that little plant that we were using before. And I added this little shelf on top of the drawers, just to try and make it a little bit more quirky, a little bit more interesting to look at. I think it just helped add to the creative space. So now I'm moving on to the outside of the house. So that's all of the inside of the house done. I couldn't make it too cluttered because obviously it was a tiny house. You want to be able to at least walk around in it and have everything functioned, but I think there's nothing there to make it look like it's lived in, and it's got a couple of different skills in there. Obviously you can do stuff on your computer, you can do the cross stitching, you can cook, and then I've left a fair bit of space outside too. Now I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with the outside space, so I wanted to keep it quite simple, just because the house isn't that complicated, so I didn't think it made sense to have such an extravagant outside, because I feel like this person probably wouldn't want to spend lots of time outside. Well, they wouldn't spend lots of time outside kind of doing lots of gardening or lots of, like, you know, growing vegetables. So I wanted to keep it quite nice and simple so they could focus on the bits they wanted to focus on. So I just popped a little bench outside, because there's not much room inside, so it might be a nice place to just kind of sit and talk. And then I wanted to build a little flower bed over here. I wasn't really sure what kind of flowers I wanted to put in it originally. In the end I went for some nice little pink flowers and some lavender. I feel like you can't go wrong with lavender. And then some wildflowers in the middle, just because I love wildflowers. I think they just look pretty, and they had like the nice pinks and purples that the flowers and that lavender already had in. So I think they work quite well. Then I wanted to build a little rock garden bed around it. That took ages because I was trying to obviously size down all the rocks and trying to rotate them in different ways so they didn't all look the same. But I think it worked out quite nicely in the end. I think it looks quite nice and I think it fits in well. I wasn't going to put a fence around it, but then I felt like it was missing something and it just felt too open. So I put a fence around it, just the top part in the end. And I feel like that closes it in quite nicely and feels like you've got a little bit of privacy, even though you'll probably always get random people fishing behind you, but you know. I wanted to put some lights outside, but I don't really like any of the lights. I like these two that I put in the flower bed. I think they look quite cute, but I didn't think anything really fit with the front of the house, so no lights. I also love the little wall letterboxes. Because I'm from the UK, we obviously have letterboxes in our doors, so I always find like the mailboxes outside of the house, or like down the driveway. I don't know, I feel like everyone will just steal your post, or it just feels weird to me. So now we've got the wall letterboxes, I pretty much always use them. I just added some few final plants to the gardens, but I left a lot of space outside as well. So if you wanted to add an easel or a chess table or some other skill building bits, then you can. There's plenty of space for that. You might as well take the opportunity of, with the micro home and the extra skill game, just trying to do as many skills as possible. But yeah, so there's lots of space outside to do bits. Okay, so let's go into the game and see a sim actually in the house, show you that it is functional, and I'll show you a few tweaks I've made to the one that's now uploaded to the gallery. So I made a sim that I felt would live here. This is her. And she's called Brie. I feel like she just looks a bit artsy. And I absolutely love the succulent necklace as well. I think that's now one of my favourite items in the game. So you can do everything that's really needed. You can use the laptop. The books don't interfere with either. I put a little book under here as well. A little craft book. Because I feel like when you're working on a project, sometimes you don't want to put it away, so you just shove it under somewhere ready to pick up later. And since there wasn't anywhere else to do that, I thought that would be a good place to do it. I've ended up moving the hob over here, but you can actually use it. It's a little bit in the way of the sofa, but let's have lunch. She doesn't have any cooking skill yet, so maybe she'll end up burning down the whole house. But we'll just make her grilled cheese. So yeah, she can get the ingredients out, and she's fine cooking on there. She doesn't clip with the sofa or anything. And then obviously you can use that and that. You can use the microwave. So yeah, I've had to replace the cactus with this tiny plant, which I prefer the cactus, but at least you can use the microwave now. And everything in the bathroom's functional as well, because you can just walk straight over the shower, so it's not really an issue. But if you're upstairs, if you want to go, like if you want to go and change outfits, but then you wanted to go to bed, you have to go down the stairs and then back up the stairs, which is a bit of a pain, but I think it's better than nothing. It's only a tiny house, so it's only a tiny house tour, but I think everything works really well, and I think it's going to be a really cute little house to play in. I hope you enjoyed this speed build, and I hope you enjoy the house if you download it from the gallery. I love making tiny houses, so I'll probably end up making quite a few more in different styles. So if you like this tiny house, please like and subscribe to see more in the future. See you next time. Bye!